Welcome to Figments in Time. My name's Lewis,
I'm back.
and we're here doing some fun stuff. So I have a conference coming up, and so I wanted to test some gear. That's why we're in a different location. So I'm testing doing a podcast remotely. And remotely for right now means down in our dining room, but hopefully we can do this in more places. I know you did one last year in a remote location, right?
I did. Virginia and I did a podcast while we were at Disney. Actually, we recorded an episode of our kids ministry podcast, and so we did that remotely, and it was fun. It was different. It's just nice to do different things every once in a while.
And I recorded you doing a presentation once as a podcast. I need to do that for my own presentations. We're not here to talk about education or computers or anything like that. We're here to talk about Disney.
Yay!
And my backdrop here today, we thought that would be the good topic to talk about. Probably by the time you see this, it won't be Halloween anymore.
No.
But there it is. So over the years, we've gone to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party 15, 20 times.
It's my favorite night of the year, hands down.
Okay, we'll unpack that later since there is Christmas and Thanksgiving, which you won't even skip for putting up Christmas decorations.
Okay, I didn't say that Halloween is my favorite holiday. I said that.
Let's get it straight. Well, get your lives together.
I said that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party is my favorite night of the year.
I'm still going Christmas Eve. It might be one of my favorite Disney nights of the year. I will give you that for sure. Jollywood, we'll find out in about just under a month. We'll see if that usurps that title. I don't think it will, but I think you're going to like certain parts of it.
I do too.
More than you can imagine.
I like other things. I'm not saying that I like Mickey's Not So Scary exclusively.
I only like Halloween.
It is my favorite.
No, you said it's your favorite night of the year.
Right.
So Christmas Eve, we're watching Muppet Christmas Carol. We're stuffed full of food and sitting by the candlelights and not quite up to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party standards. All right. That's going to tell you her opinion. It is definitely one of my favorite things to do at Disney. Hands down. What I thought we would do, we'll keep this short today, in case the video is terrible. I mean, that's the real key here. Is we'll talk about the ways we've experienced this. So we've had about 4 or 5 different modes we've experienced this in. And it used to be 2 until the last year. And we traveled with people this year and last year. Mm-hmm. And then in previous years, there was maybe, I didn't care as much about parts of it, and you did. And then so how do you want to approach this? What do you want to talk about first, the old or the new?
Well, I think that just to explain what you're talking about exactly, we've been going to Not So Scary for years. We didn't start going to Not So Scary until after our daughter was grown and out of the house. So normally we would go to Not So Scary by ourselves. And when you do that, you can just kind of do what you want to do individually. I would sometimes sit and do things and he would do things. He doesn't love the Sanderson show quite as much as I do. So I would go see it several times while he took pictures or, different things like that.
I didn't, because when you're talking, the time period you're talking about was pre-picture fanaticism.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about, we have taken our kids with us before. So we had done that trip when our youngest granddaughter was just a baby. And so that year was really, really nice of Lewis because he knew that I would be taking the baby more because everybody else hadn't experienced the park as many times as we had. And so he actually got me a ticket to do by myself that year after the kids came back home. So that way, if I had missed anything when I was taking care of the baby, then I wouldn't miss. And so that was a fun year. I got to go by myself one year.
I forgot I was owed a solo trip to the party because I could have done that this year.
Yeah, but you got a solo trip to Jollywood last year. So see, that evens all that out. Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah. Or you're going to...
Not So Scary being the best night of the year. Of course. All right, go ahead.
So we did that one time, but this time we went with the kids again, and we got to go with friends a couple of times now. So that's been fun too. So it's different when you're going with other people that you want to stay with, because then you don't go off and just kind of do what you want to do. You stay with the group, and that was fun.
So initially, yes, I didn't care about the parade that much. I would catch it and I would find the parade occasionally, but and then I would go ride. I would go ride things. She would do the party activities. And as the years passed, honestly, it got busier and busier. So there was a time, pretty much up until 2019, where the party had been getting busier and busier. We actually went to the last, next to the last party before the done time came, and they shut us down for a few years. That's a Dillo thing. I probably should do it better if I'm going to do an homage to it. But so as it became busier and busier, it became less and less exciting to go ride the rides. So I also started my ridiculous photography habit. And it's really hard to get pictures of dark things like in a parade. Certainly back in the early years of digital photography, as it's progressed, it's gotten easier and easier. But lately, it's almost easy to capture. But I'm hoping to do a series of posts on tips and tricks I have for people who are trying to take pictures in the parks. But so we had sort of evolved to we find a place, we watch the parade, the Sanderson Sister Show, the fireworks, the parade, maybe ride something, maybe eat something, but usually we didn't get the snacks. And then we would, at 12 o'clock, we'd watch the final Sanderson Sister Show, or whatever it was before that. I can't even remember. It's been so a while.
Well,
Such a while.
The thing was that for us, especially back in the day, back before the pandemic, it was all about how many times we could ride attractions. That's what we really loved. We wanted to be able to do things multiple times. And honestly, the Not So Scary Party was one of those nights where sometimes you could get on an attraction and they would just say, "Do you want to go again?" Because there was nobody in line. And so a lot of times those nights you could just, stay on an attraction and ride it over and over again. And so it became sort of this challenge of how many times can you ride in a night. And so I liked that somewhat. I didn't want to do it all the time because, again, I liked the parade, because the reason why I love it so much is because, I'm a Haunted Mansion fan, and there is a Haunted Mansion unit for the parade that's just amazing. And so I enjoyed that. I like the fireworks now. I loved them even more before, because before they were very park centric. And so they had lots of pirate music, lots of Haunted Mansion music. The ghost hosted the fireworks. And so that was really cool. So I used to love to make sure I saw those fireworks, because it included the Haunted Mansion into it as well. And so now, though, because the parties sell out so much, even though the ride time wait is shorter, it's still a good, sometimes 20 minutes to wait for the ride. So even though that's a short wait time for the attractions on a normal day, it's still long enough that it just cuts into the party time too much. And so it's too hard to do.
It has felt a little bit less after they came back. But I think if you look at the prices of the Not So Scary Party, it is one of the cheaper parties they have. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's if you look at the extra hours they do, it's like 2 hours of extra hours or 3 hours. It's way more expensive than this 5 hour party. So I think they've kind of made that concession that they're going to charge a little less than others, but it's going to be more full. And it's even the end of the day. I used to try to be the last person out of the park. Part of that's me getting old and going all day, but part of that is it seems busier and people hang around longer. So, but the last 2 years, going with the Dillos as we had, and the people for their meetup. This year was the Find Frank for 50. Just birthday yesterday. When we're recording this, possibly birthday 2 days ago when we post this, if all goes well. But they're different. But before we talk about what we did with the Dillos, let's talk about what we did with our kids. So we got to the party and we sort of did our normal thing. Found a place, got a great place for the parade, and then it rained a little. And so when they did the parade, it was the fast version. When I say the fast version, they don't do much.
The fast version is a little bit shorter. Not all the characters are in it that are in the, well, and he's saying this, it's the rain version of the parade. And so it does go a little bit, they move a little bit faster. They don't dance as much. They're just basically walking like a normal parade that you might see where they're just moving really quickly to go past.
They're very close to each other.
And yes, and so it's just a very different kind of parade. So you don't get to see everything. But what was so interesting about this was that it wasn't raining when they ran the rain parade. Yes. It was getting ready to rain. And I know that what they were trying to do was to hurry the parade through before the rain started. But still, the whole parade went through and it had not rained and it had not rained. So it didn't actually rain for a good few minutes after the parade was over with. And so then it kind of rained and drizzled pretty much the rest of the evening. So it rained too hard for the Sanderson show didn't play the first one. And then also
it played, but it was also short.
Yeah. And oh, that's right. It was short. And then they did the fireworks because they're able to do the fireworks. I don't think the Jack puppet was out. We were not standing in front of the castle during the fireworks because we had gone to get a snack and got stuck and it started raining and we couldn't get back through. It was a whole thing. But anyway, so I couldn't see. I don't think that Jack was out on the stage during the fireworks. But
I do not remember.
We could not see him from where we were. So, it was just, it's very different when it rains because that obviously affects things. But we were also very lucky in that, like I said, it kept raining, but it just started drizzling. It wasn't pouring after the fireworks were over. So pretty much everything kept going the rest of the night.
So yeah, it's interesting. They have different modes. And they also have a rain check policy. And if they rain out, they can't do everything, they'll give you a rain check to come back or something else.
And that's if they rain out completely. That means if they can't run the parade, they can't run the fireworks, they can't run the stage show. So it's not, and that means for the whole night. If they can't run it the first part of the evening, but the midnight show plays, then you got to see it. So they don't do the rain checks for those nights. So it's very specific.
And it's something you should know. Sometimes the party will be better, sometimes not as good because of the weather. But there's also good parts of the weather being bad. It does thin out when people just give up. I mean, they're the ones that complain a lot, but they have a valid reason. I mean, it's kind of a bummer when you can't see the things when you want to, and then it's everybody in the thing. But anyhow, so that's one mode where we sit and we work to get a good position for everything. Like we're sitting at the trash cans on Main Street. It's a pretty decent place. If you can stand up and you can handle it, standing behind a trash can will mean there won't be people standing in front of you. If you're sitting behind them, there may be people on the trash can leaning over because it's hard to stand up now. And you do want to make sure you get somewhere where you are unlikely to have someone put a child on their shoulders right before the fireworks, right before the parade. And it happens. And it's not against the rules, so I'm not like complaining that they shouldn't be doing that. But it's hard to know when that's going to happen. And if you can find a spot where there's no possibility of that happening, all the better.
Well, and it's when you're looking at the castle, to be able to be behind the streets that runs directly in front of the castle, to me, is always a better spot for you to be than a lot of people try to go down front into that fenced area right up against the castle. Yeah. And the problem with that is that you can't see the stage. So you're really close to some of the things that are going on the stage, but you can't see everything that's going on the stage, and you can't see behind the castle. And so for me, to have a spot that steps back a little bit on the other side of where the street goes in front of the castle is a really good spot to be in.
So we waited the 2 hours. We got the bad parade, the short parade.
We got the rain parade.
The rain parade. bad. It's not bad, but it's also not awesome, right? You waited 2 hours for a parade, and then it just runs past
We
you.
did get the Headless Horseman, though, which I was surprised about because typically
Very
for
much
the rain parade, you don't get the Headless Horseman. But since it hadn't actually started raining yet, they ran him. So
So we did that, and then I think we kind of missed the rest of the parade, right? Did we go back? You went for snacks. We ended up in different locations for fireworks. I don't think you even saw the fireworks, did you?
we saw the fireworks. We couldn't see the stage. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if we could see the castle. We were over at Sleepy Hollow because we had gone to get, which I would highly recommend if you're going soon and they still have it. That they had a Haunted Mansion candle pop that was a red velvet cake with the buttercream icing, and it was very good. And so we had gone over to get one of those and then kind of got stuck because when the rain started, everybody kind of does. It's hard to get around when it's really pouring rain, and it was really pouring rain. So we kind of got stuck there. But the nice thing about it was we were right there where you could see the castle. Yes. So we could see the fireworks, we could see the projections on the castle. We just couldn't see the stage, so we couldn't see if Jack was there. But I don't think he probably was, since it was literally pouring rain. So,
all right. So that was the good and bad. When you're waiting for things and you're trying to, I find that if you pick a mode, we're gonna ride things and then just catch fireworks, catch parties, catch parades. That's one way to do it. And then if you're going to camp out and do it, I think you and I camp out. Like when we went to this party, we're just like not even gonna try.
I want a good spot to see because the parade is the most important thing for me. And so I just want a really good spot to be able to see the parade well. That was the funny thing, was that we had gone to do the Haunted Mansion, which is amazing to do on party night because one, you have Carlotta, and then there's another lady that I cannot think of her name right now that's sometimes out there other than Carlotta, and I can't think of her name. And there's a butler that comes out with them. And they do this great show in the graveyard as you're going into the Haunted Mansion. And then the other thing that's incredibly cool about the Haunted Mansion is that typically all of the cast members that work at the Haunted Mansion have extra makeup on during the Not So Scary party. They did not this year because of the rain, because the rain would have washed, and they rotate where they're at, during their shift. So they were going to be outside, and so they didn't have on the extra makeup, which I was bummed out about. But still, it was just really cool. But we had done the Haunted Mansion, and when we came out, we saw the parade running, which we were not expecting the parade to be running at all for the second time because it was still actually raining. And not only was the parade running, but it was the full parade. And so we tried to kind of catch a spot so that we could see it a little bit, and we just really couldn't see it very well, but we did kind of hang there and try to catch a little bit of it, as it was going by. So
I think the only thing I was able to ride, I need to ride Space Mountain with the lights off, which it's an interesting thing. I think it'd be scarier to have it with the lights on or the lights flashing, like on a 1 second cycle. But it's interesting. It's fun.
It's terrifying to me with the lights off. I don't do Space Mountain as often anymore because it's honestly just a little painful for me these days. And it does make me a little dizzy sometimes. I do ride it with the kids occasionally, but I try not to. But to me, in the dark, it's terrifying because it's just because you don't see the turns coming, so I feel like you jerk around so much more. It's just weird.
So you're not one of those that keeps our eyes closed.
And so, no, I don't like to keep my eyes closed on attractions if I can help from it. I had to close my eyes at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy when we read it last time because I thought I was going to pass out. But typically I like to keep my eyes open because I like to see what's happening around me. So
the experience of riding Space Mountain without lights on is a little bit better than with your eyes closed. Because the little light peeks in. And really, if you want the full effect of the Halloween party, Space Mountain, close your eyes. If the lights are off and you close your eyes, you really won't see much. But it's okay. So that was our experience then. When we do it ourselves, we camp out. and we usually don't miss the things we're looking for. Sometimes we get people stuck in front of us, but and then we usually will try to ride something near the end of the night. We'll go to Monsters Inc. and do the candy and the little show, which a cast member totally messed us up on this time. They told us as we were walking in, they were like, "There's no show, just candy. No show, just candy." So we tried to do a few of those things, and then we did the Sanderson Sisters show, and leave. So then we did with our family is more of a hybrid mode where we split up, and that's one of the tips. If I was going to give anybody tips for going to Disney World or any party or anything like this, where you really want to maximize your time, be willing to split up. Find the people that want to do this, that, and the other thing, and then find the people that don't want to do them, and make your plans that way. Don't like, "Oh, I'll see you at the end of the night, and I'll see you at the end of the night," and you just go sit by yourself. That's sad. But as many things you can do together, but then let other people go do the things they want to do. So our kids would run off and they'd ride something, they'd come back, and then they leave and come back. So the hybrid mode worked pretty well, even if it was kind of a mess with the rain and we missed the parade, etc. The next night we did pretty much the ride mode, probably the best version of ride mode. If I will say anything about the 2 times we visited with the Dillos, as much as we were like, where are we going? We're not going to be waiting for the parade. What? We're going to go ride. What? It's been really kind of excellent. With them pushing, we've done more rides. We've seen all the events, maybe not from the best angles, but we've seen all the events. We've seen the parades at least once, fireworks once, etc. And if you're younger and more energetic, if you time it right, and you know the schedule, and you know when things are, and you watch the wait times and don't overdo it like we did with the Haunted Mansion, right, you can do a pretty good job. What did you like about that experience?
I love the meetups with Delicious, and the reason why I do is because I just enjoy being with our friends and being able to spend time with them. So for me, as much as I love the party, we've done the party enough now that if I do miss something, if I miss the Sanderson Sisters show, if I miss the parade, my heart's not broken because I really have seen it, many, many times. And so it's fine. So I want to fully experience as much time with my friends as I can. And so I just enjoy the meetups because of that, because we get to ride our favorite attractions with people that we know love them as much as we do. And we get to spend time together while we're doing that. And so for me, it's a different experience because we have these people that we don't get to spend a lot of time with, that we get to hang out with in the favorite places that we have. So I really enjoy the meetups a lot. For me, as at the party, I'm good to do what everybody else wants to do because, again, I think out of our group, other than the people who live in Orlando, we probably get to go to the parks more than most anybody else in our group. I never feel like there's anything anymore that I'm missing if I do end up missing something. So it's being able to just be with the group. But the great thing about it is because we're also like-minded, we really are doing everything we want to do anyway. So it's just a lot of fun. There were a few things this year that I wanted to make sure that I did because I had not ridden Tiana's yet and wanted to do that, but everybody else did too. So again, we got to do the things we wanted to do.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have any foods that I really wanted because the previous year we had a habanero mango Dole Whip cone that I wanted really bad, and we went by there and they were like, it's out. And we went back again and they're like, we'll have some later. We came back, it was out or broken. Oh, I think it was broken.
The machine was not working yet.
And then it was out. It was sad.
I just don't. I enjoy the snacks for food and wine or for a festival, like I will say, okay, there are these snacks I want to try and I know that they're going to be good or I'm looking forward to them and I think they're going to be good. The problem for me with snacks at the parties is that one, the lines can be incredibly long and I really don't want to wait an hour for a snack. And so I'm typically not going to do that. But there are sometimes things that the girls really wanted to try the Haunted Mansion pop-up, and that was really good. I got burned at the Not So Scary Party. I think it was back in 2017 or 2018. They had a Constance cake that was a white wedding cake with a hatchet in it, and it looked so good. And so I actually did wait in line for that. And it was probably one of the worst snacks I've ever had. I think it was just that I got a bad one. I think the cake was just really dry, and it just was not a very good snack. And so just for us, typically, we're not going to wait for a snack if there's not a reason to wait for the snack. So
that just tells you how little she likes to complain. It was probably just a bad one. It wasn't that this was a terrible snack, and it's okay. You don't have to like every Disney snack. You don't have to like everything in Disney. I personally don't do snacks at the parks, mostly because I'm a creature of habit. So if I'm doing such snack, I'm getting some food. I don't want to get like this special thing like, I don't know, a cupcake in a cup, where, 2 trips we get this cupcake in a cup, which is basically frosting, half cake at the Mad Hatter's. And we went there and we got it, and it was amazing.
It was at the Cheshire Cat. But it was the best cupcake I'd ever had in my life. And then it was gone. And so, yeah. And so that is, again, it's really sad when you try things. I was really excited this time because I did have the slushie last year from the Not So Scary Party. That was I think it was the Evil Queen slushie was what it was called, but it was a red slushie with like a whipped cream on the top with a chocolate golden crown. And I loved it so much. A friend grabbed it for me because he knew I had said I wanted it, but I wasn't going to wait in line for it. And when we were doing something else, I came out and he came up and said, I got this for you. And so I got to have it, and it was incredibly good. So this year I actually went looking for it and got it. And so I was excited that I could have it again. He was disappointed that the habanero Dole Whip was not available this year, I guess because of the problem they had with it last year. But
I will make exceptions for things like spicy ice cream. That's just a thing. And kind of like the spicy wings at Epcot. I'll try that, not expecting to try it again to come back. But usually I'm like, when I go to a restaurant, if I've ordered something and I like it, I'm probably ordering that again.
Yeah.
I love hot chicken, and I like some of the things that these chicken restaurants have along with chicken, but I'm not going to go with that. This is why I came here. This is what this is what you're good for. I do that at Disney as well. I'll get the same dish every single time. So it's fun. So I think what we're trying to say here is these parties are awesome. And you just need to set your expectations and figure out what you were most important. I wrote a blog. I think one of the last blogs I wrote about Disney was choose what makes it fun for you. Mm-hmm. If watching the parades and finding a place and a chair somewhere makes it great for you, do that. If you want to ride the rides, do that. If you want to do both, make sure you have some idea of when things are going on, and be prepared to be there. Like parades, you don't have to be at parades right on time. You can find a spot behind some people, especially if you're taller. If you're shorter, this device doesn't work as good. But you can generally see some of the parade. Fireworks, you can always, if you go down Main Street and you see there's walkways, when they're saying fill in the space, people will move up. There's almost always a way to get right in the back of that group, which is actually a very excellent place to stand anywhere on Main Street until the kids go up on the shoulders, obviously. That will drive you a little nuts. Or the people who have cameras held up here. See, I'm all for using your camera in events. You put your camera here, it doesn't make a difference to me. Your head is not translucent, so that camera isn't going to do it. But when you have an iPad and you're here above your head, that drives you a little nuts. So that is one thing to consider about the sneaking in. Because if you're in the front of that group, you're in great shape.
I always tell people the same thing about the parties as I do about planning your Disney vacation, especially if you've never been before, is that you can't do everything. It's not possible to do everything in one trip or one day or one party. And so when it comes to a Universal trip or a Disney trip, it's something that you really do need to have a plan. And that doesn't mean that every second of your day has to be planned. What it does mean, though, is that you do have to know, okay, these things are important to me, and I want to make sure I do these things. And how can I make sure that I do these specific things? And then everything else can just be gravy because you've done the things that you really wanted to do, and then anything else you get. Because sometimes you're going to hit a low day where you can do everything you wanted to do, and it's amazing, and there's not a crowd, and the weather's perfect, and you're going to hit that occasionally. But sometimes it's going to rain. It's outside. Disney has no control over the weather. And so, sometimes it's going to rain. Sometimes a party or a day is going to be sold out and it's going to be super busy. Sometimes attractions close or there aren't things that happen. So, you may have wanted to ride the Haunted Mansion, but maybe the Haunted Mansion is down for refurb that day. So you just kind of never know what's going to happen ahead of time too much like that, because those are just things that happen to everybody. And so you just have to kind of, take the time to look through and really think through, because we made that mistake with the Orlando Informer event. And I think we talked about it last year when we reviewed the Orlando Informer event, that Lewis didn't go with us that trip. And so for some strange reason, normally our daughter and I both love to plan, but I think because I had never really been to Universal before. And so I really didn't know how to plan or how to start to plan. So I was just going to do whatever the kids did. And I think the kids are so used to me knowing Disney that they just kind of thought I knew Universal. And so we just didn't really plan a lot ahead of time. And we ended up not getting to do some of the things we wanted to do at the Orlando Informer event because we didn't pay close enough attention to what attractions were running at what times and when things closed. And so it is really important that you do have, like I said, you don't have to be one of those people that has every second, planned out to a T, but you do have to be familiar with the schedule and what's happening and what's going to be offered so that you can make sure you get to do the things that you want to do. Going in knowing it might rain, they might be super crowded, you might not get to do everything you wanted to do.
And just to finish this up on a topical note, since the topic we're talking about is ending in 2 or 3 days, and Halloween's tomorrow as we're recording this. Take all that information and then look at the things they have available. So you can buy a ticket. Everybody can get in for just the top cost of a ticket. You can also buy Lightning Lane. You can also buy something called, and you can buy that for a single attraction, one of the big attractions like Rise of the Resistance, Tron, etc. Tiana. You can make sure you get on these things. Guardians of the Galaxy is the one I would absolutely suggest. I do that and the virtual queue anytime I can. But you can also now buy something called the Lightning Lane Premier Pass, which gets you for rather high costs. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The minimum's on like $129 for Animal Kingdom and $370 or something for Magic Kingdom. It gets you every single Lightning Lane and every single individual Lightning Lane. So you can ride. If you get it for Hollywood Studios, you can get Rise of the Resistance and all the attractions, Rock and Roller Coaster. There's no tiers, there's no waiting, nothing. You just have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And right now it's just for deluxe guests. I don't see myself ever buying this unless I'm really there for just one day and I really have something I definitely want to do. Because it's a lot of money. It's not necessarily for everybody. Everybody's very up in arms about it. This is an expensive thing, and they're probably selling 100 of these things a day, if that, right? And you can also, if you really want to do everything in a day, they have VIP tour guides that for about $500 an hour, minimum 10 hours. There's a minimum of 4, but it goes up to, and I would say the average is probably, I was sort of in the middle of that, $400 or $500 an hour. At Christmas, it's got to be more. They'll take you anywhere you want for at least 10 hours. So you can really do these things up. There's always been, things you can do. But make sure you know all your options and what you're willing to spend, how long you're going to be there. If you're going to be there a long time, I'm going to say this. Don't schedule the party on the first night. Don't schedule an after hours thing on the first night. If you can help it, if you can do it later in the week. So we did the VIP thing in back in the day for Star Wars. So we got in the lines and skipped all the things. And it was amazing. And we would often go on Saturday, and then we would do this thing, and then we would try to go back the next day. And you're like, I gotta stand in line. I gotta do this. It's like going to the Orlando Informer party, and they're like handing out food, and they're giving you this and that. And the next day you go to the park, and they're like, that'll be $15 more. Sorry. What do you mean I gotta wait in that line? That line yesterday was nobody. So to me, the best thing is to have a few days of regular park, take it easy, knowing you got this big day coming up, and then kind of ease off at the end, especially if like your last days are on a holiday or your first days are on a holiday. And I'm notoriously horrifying when it comes to holidays. I went down to a conference and I had no idea it was Columbus Day that week or Indigenous Peoples Day. I had no idea. I've done this with President's Day. I've done this with a couple other holidays. I do know when Thanksgiving is. Sometime in November.
If you're in the United States.
If you're in the United States. If you're in Canada,
it's in
October. It's still in November. It's the same. And I got down, I was like, why is it so busy? They always talk about it's so slow this time of year. It was not slow. So I had to adjust my plans. Also, look at how soon you can make plans. Like the Lightning Lane multi-pass, you can do it 7 days in advance if you're staying on property, only 3 days if you're staying off property. And when you start looking at it and you think, oh, I'm not going to get my value out of it, and you wait till 2 days, it gets worse and worse as time goes by. And buying it day of really depends on how busy it is. If it's not very busy, then you can wait in the lines. And that's when I saw the new Premier Pass, that was my thought. What if I buy this and it rains tomorrow? I've spent $400 to ride all the rides in Magic Kingdom. Half of them are closed because it's raining, lightning. Or I get sick. Not so sick that I won't go to the park, but not so sick that I don't want to ride anything today. Right? It's so complicated doing these plans. Not knowing what to do or how to do it, but knowing which to choose. Same with Universal buying their Express Pass. Every time I've gone, I'm like, I'm gonna get this. And by the time I decide, it's like $300. I'm like, I don't think so. So you got anything else you want to say? Anything? Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Yeah. And if you've never gone to Not So Scary, consider it for next year. It's worth it. It's fun. You'll love it. Trust me.
If you like Halloween, yes. If you're looking for Halloween Horror Nights, not so much.
Yeah, that would be Universal.
It's very not so scary. It is cute though. Very cute.
If you like fun Halloween and not terrifying Halloween, it's where to be.
All right. Till next time. See you later.
Bye.